I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media, and today on the Crypto Coin Show we have Adam Gall, the CTO of Decent. Adam, welcome to the show, and it is great to have Decent back once again.
Thanks, Ashton. It's great to be here.
You're very welcome. A lot's happened since we last talked to your team in January of this year, and a little bit of a downhill market since then, but a lot of building going on, and the future of gaming, new protocols, scaling, and DAOs are all taking huge strides forward since then as well. So I'm excited to hear your insights on what your team has been working on. For the people who didn't see the first interview with Decent, I'd love to just get an intro on the main solutions that your team's providing and adding value to the blockchain space, and then we'll dive into everything else.
Yeah, sure thing. So Decent these days is a on-chain venture studio, and so what that means is that we're modeling ourselves after the traditional venture studio, but doing it in a way that really leans into the crypto culture. As an organizational structure, we've organized ourselves as a DAO, so a lot of our processes are becoming a lot more transparent. Treasury on chain, transparent democratic decision making through voting, and figuring out how to run a sophisticated organization that has many different layers and levels and people doing different things, but in a way that's more in line with the ethos of crypto and the ethos of worldwide organizations that don't have a central heart, but more so a bunch of different arms of people working to build stuff together.
Mm-hmm. Very cool and great intro. And you're right. I feel like there's a lot of companies sort of touting the future, but the infrastructure and the technology is always set back in the past. And with DAO specifically and autonomous organizations, they are the future moving forward. But there is a lot to be done to fix out the little problems. And running a company, there's millions of different things that need to be done. How do you automate all that and get it into smart contracts and work out the governance to be perfect so that everyone gets a fair democratic say? It's like trying to run politics inside of your company. How has that been, that trying to get the functionality of a DAO structure into a venture studio and sort of the setbacks in that as well?
Yeah, great question. I mean, you used the word perfect there. Certainly nothing about this is perfect. Perfection is what we're after, but there's a long way to get there. I don't know of too many other organizations that are attempting to build sophisticated organizations in quite the way that we are. And so a lot of this is I don't want to say trial and error, but figuring out how this works best as we go. There aren't many models for us to rely upon. So yeah, I mean, it's been a process of learning. We have some, we have our own goals about what we're trying to achieve. So we're not looking for, I think a lot of people traditionally hear DAOs and they think of a very flat structure where everybody has an equal voice. That's not quite like our main objective here. We still believe in a hierarchical structure within an organization, but one in which there's a lot more transparency throughout that structure, and transparency in decision making, in resource allocation, and one in which anybody within some arm of that overall structure can understand how the overall organization fits, how they fit in, and most importantly, what they can do to affect better decisions moving up that chain. So if all those decisions are transparent and made in the public eye instead of behind closed doors in a boardroom, it allows ego to leave the room and allows pure efficiency to take over. And if people have better ideas and can promote their ideas to the greater good of however decision making happens within that structure, then they can get in and affect change in a better way than somebody that might already be there.
Yeah, very well said. And I completely agree about the hierarchical structure. I feel like it would be this perfect utopia if every single person in the company of 1,000 people had the same responsibility and everyone was exactly equal, it would be really hard to decide for a unanimous vote of 1,000 people to get things done. I feel like as DAOs continue to grow, there's going to be this sort of transition of like certain functionalities will all of a sudden become automated and more transparent, as you're saying, open doors. But there will still be, as there is now in blockchain, a lot of sort of Web 2 or traditional structures sort of like helping support that along as each piece transitions and not just the whole thing overnight, because it is a bit of a trial and error. I'm curious if you've looked into the history of other companies and using DAOs, whether it's in DeFi or in governance, and if there's anything to model, what is the right way to do this off of?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely spent a lot of time seeing how other popular DAOs, big DAOs with lots of members, organize how they work. And I mean, I said earlier that there's not that many models for us to use. I mean, that's not entirely true. There are plenty of popular DAOs out there that have made a lot of progress building things in the space. I guess for our transition from a LLC, an organization in the regular business world, to one where this governance happens on chain, while still like transitioning our existing contributor staff into this model and figuring out what new contributors look like. That's been tough for us to find organizations that have gone through that transition, other than like Shapeshift. Honestly, Shapeshift has been a pretty good model for us. They've done it they've had a lot more risk than us in terms of they were a pretty regulated company beforehand doing money transmission. So a big spotlight has been on them to do it right. So yeah, Shapeshift has been a good model for us, actually.
And speaking of new contributions, and you mentioned at the beginning about treasury management, how do you see the decent DAO at least approaching the governance of treasury management? Maybe you can give a comparison into how a venture studio would work as an LLC with sort of managing where the funds go versus with a DAO.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the best way I can approach that answer is to first talk about transparency as maybe even being more important at different layers in that DAO than decentralization. So within Decent, for example, the way that we're modeling that is that at the topmost layer, which is where the biggest treasury funds are, that should be the most decentralized. So that's the layer where it's like token voting, token holders, wide set of token holders, voting on-chain proposals can dictate how treasury funds get spent. And then as you move further and further away from that, and there are like sub-DAOs for different work streams, like an engineering work stream or an operations work stream or a product or design or marketing or legal or whatever, those different work streams will have probably less and less decentralization the further down they go. And that's because there are people in charge there who have to figure out what their budgets will be, what their plans for the next quarter or half year or year will be, and submit proposals to that larger treasury to get the funds they need to do the work that they need to do. And then even within those work streams, there might be further sub-DAOs for different initiatives in there, which might become more, or I should say less decentralized the further down you go. So that's where this, hierarchical structure of our DAO and different objectives or different goals for each one of those levels really comes into play, where decentralization matters a lot at the top level and probably less so as there's less and less funds to manage throughout each of those arms.
Great insight, Adam, and that makes sense. Obviously in the accounting department, you're going to want to have some people with the qualifications and not just choosing at random because it's a DAO. In that, on Mondays, Lucy gets to do the accounting, and on Wednesdays it's Bob. Because I don't think that would work very well.
Right.
Now, I'm curious on how Decent has been approaching investing in the blockchain projects that are looking to revolutionize blockchain over the next 5 years. How has the DAO and Decent been focusing on certain types of investments, whether it's in protocols, gaming, NFTs, or is it sort of scattered around? What's the thesis for investing?
For sure. So the investing that we do, at least right now, is more focused on investing in our team to build new things. So we're not, at least as of right now, we haven't made any outside investments. As a venture studio, we're investing in building products that we've done research on and that we view as being important to the space. Mm-hmm. I can get into a couple of those if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, for sure. So we're very heavy into development on our first venture studio project or protocol, which is called Fractal. Fractal is a DAO governance framework. So it's a framework for both creating and then managing and using DAO structures, much in the way that Decent is attempting to build and model our own DAO. So it's been used as we've been dog fooding it to our own organization as we've been building it and using our own organization as kind of understanding what kind of features the MVP of Fractal needs. It's a very flexible framework. So it allows for, any kind of different hierarchical structure that one could imagine with any kind of, permission schemas between those different levels, super flexible on chain. And the front end for that project has been built with different templates to support what, we view and our market research has indicated are some different types of governance structures and hierarchical organizations that will probably be used to start. It's built in a way that allows anybody to configure it in any way they want, but we're definitely attempting to give the market what they're asking for first.
Very cool. I think that's the perfect first example, as obviously showcasing the value that Decent created within itself in being able to replicate that as more projects and platforms are looking to incorporate functionalities of a DAO. I feel like there's going to need to be some easier ways to do it than starting from scratch as the way that Decent has, and being able to implement that easy into other projects.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another protocol that's in pretty heavy R&D, product discovery phase right now, which we haven't started building yet, but there's quite a few people scoping out what that project's going to look like. I think it's still a little bit under wraps. I won't talk about it quite yet. And then another program that we're working on right now is kind of the more community-focused side of deciding what to build. So, as Decent, we are attempting to be as inclusive as we can with the Decent community, but we don't want to be just inundated with ideas on things to build. We want to make sure that there's a good process for proposing ideas to the DAO that should get funded and resources allocated to be built. So we're finishing up a program right now to understand what that process looks like and to present that to our community so that we can have a good inflow of quality ideas that have had a lot of research done to them, so that we can actually start to open up our doors a bit more on understanding and deciding upon the things that we build.
I also like that a lot. I feel like there could be a lot of low value proposals if there's not some kind of filtering system. How do you get the smartest minds to produce the best proposals and not have them lost in the noise of all of this other options. Now,
Yeah, exactly.
with that, I'm curious on how there's a lot of different ways you could approach, voting and determining where to spend the funds, or what to move forward on. You could do like a one person, one vote, or you could have a seniority hierarchy where the founders or the people that have been there for longer have more of a say in the vote, or you could just have like one coin per one vote. Have you looked through this, and is there a way that you're approaching it with Decent?
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely one of the challenges that as a team we're attempting to figure out right now. Well, yeah, what's the best way to vote on what gets built? As of right now, the plan is token voting. So it very much is, your stake in Decent dictates your stake in making good decisions for Decent's future, which is how we're allocating resources and deciding what to build. There's definitely no reason why that can't change in the future, but that's just how we've been approaching it right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good to know. And as we move towards probably a lot more companies moving into like a DAO structure, do you see anything as a catalyst movement that will sort of help more quickly convert, at least to start, blockchain companies before we get to all companies of moving into DAOs? What will be that key turning point that sort of makes everyone transition into this model? Is just it actually being better and easier?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know if I can speak for other people, other organizations, other companies. I know that for Decent, for ourselves, we've definitely identified and realized that this DAO model, this DAO organizational structure, is what's best for us and our goals. Right? Our goals are to curate the best people that we can find to work on the most important problems that we can identify in this crypto space. And to do so, this DAO model encourages the best minds to show up, prove their value, prove their worth, and then take over, key processes within this organization to build the best things the most efficient ways that they can. That's our goal as an organization. And so we've identified that this DAO model is the best way to approach that from organizational decision-making process. I think that if other organizations are also after the same thing, which is, building the best things with the, most efficient resource allocation that they can, and, founders and leaders are willing to risk their own jobs to, risk somebody else coming in and making a better proposal than they can about ways to run the organization or the sub-organization that they're currently running, then yeah, great. Then DAOs are probably a good model for them. Is it right for everybody? Probably not. But definitely even for those organizations that, do identify that it's a good structure for them, there's plenty to be done to make it actually more user-friendly or more efficient. Even for us, we've been going through this transition for the better part of a year, and there's still plenty to do. I mean, we're building a lot of these tools and processes ourselves just to make it work for us. And yeah, I mean, the goal is that as we keep doing this, we'll keep publishing what we're working on, what we're building, sharing our knowledge, sharing our tools to make it easier for others to use us as a model as they go through a DAO transition process.
Amazing, Adam, and thank you for that. And you're right. I feel like the current structure, if you have something to propose that might be better than your boss, you sort of have the short end of the stick because the hierarchy just isn't set up for that. But in reality, if you have the best proposal and value to bring, then you should be able to put that on the table and have everyone vote on it. And that's one of the reasons I really do like DAOs, and I'm liking seeing them growing and moving into organizations where they need to be. So really looking forward to seeing how the whole industry grows into it. And I feel like we're still really early because this is a multi-decade process. So with Decent and following along with the updates of the DAO and seeing the new functionalities that you guys are coming out with and also potentially getting involved, what is the best way for people to learn more about Decent?
Yeah, for sure. So a couple different ways. I mean, we have a Twitter, Decent_DAO. We publish a blog on mirror.xyz. I think you could find it under decent-dao.eth. Our Discord is great. We do all of our work in the public on Discord. So that's, it's a general community gathering place, and it's also where engineering, design, product teams are doing their work. So you can come join us there on Discord, discord.gg/decent-dao. And I think that's probably about it with the socials. Another way is if you're traveling to any of the Ethereum events throughout the rest of this year. I think there's like 4 upcoming: MCon in Denver, DevCon in Bogota, then there's a couple more in Lisbon, and sorry, let me pull up. Forget. I think there might be one more, but we are hosting anti-events at the cities and all of those conferences for builders to have a place to just like get away from the noise and have a place to like work and network with each other and connect and share what they're working on and building. They're not, alcohol infused events. They're filled with good food and good drinks and good people talking and working about what they're working on, and place to chill out. You can catch us there. I think our pinned tweet on Twitter right now has that schedule, and you can learn more about those different events and where they are if you join our Discord.
Very cool, and I like that, Adam. I will leave the website and the social links as well in the description box below. Thank you so much for your insights into DAOs and everything you're working on with Decent. Sounds really cool. I'm looking forward to following up again to hear the updates and how you're helping build the future of organizations and companies. So thank you for that, and let's follow up in the near future.
Yeah, thank you, Ashton. It was great to be here.